What's going on, everyone? We've wrapped up our first day in Tarisland, and I want to share with you some of our first impressions, as well as go over some of the game's systems and designs. And, for the most part, the game's not bad. It's not great by any means, but it's not bad. There's definitely worse out there. And unlike another PC mobile port that's coming to the West later this year, you can at least move and attack in Tarisland, so at least it's got that going for it. In general, the character customization isn't anything special, and this is going to be the first red flag for some people in that not only are the classes gender locked, they are race locked too. So warrior can only be a human male. Mage can only be female elf, and so on. From that point, the customization options themselves aren't anything extravagant. You can adjust your character's height, their weight for their body mass size, and the size of their head. So you can get a little goofy with it in terms of your character customization there. In terms of the other personalized options, it's very basic. It's just a couple different hairstyles and hair colors that you can change it in between. The most intricate part is probably the eyes, being able to change the eye-shaped pupils and the effects that are happening within the eyeball, as well as the face makeup has a couple interesting different scars and tattoos that are at the disposal for it. But other than that, nothing crazy. Pretty basic standard overall character customization. But it's, definitely not the worst out there. So let's just knock out of the way first the thing I know you all want to know about, most importantly, the cash shop. As of right now, the only things available for sale are mounts, some cosmetics, weapon skins, and other general character, cosmetic items, goofy things, particle effects, things that, a little rabbit that can sit on your head, etc. You buy these with these blue gems. So this is the cash shop currency. Gold is a currency that is obtained purely through in-game rewards, as well as trading items on the auction house. There is no way to convert cash shop currency into gold or vice versa. So they are completely separate from their respective, interactions in game. You are, however, able to convert gold into silver. But again, gold is not obtained through the cash shop, and you can't convert cash shop currency into gold. So this doesn't have any impact on that at all. And so there's no way to incorporate player power into it. In terms of the market here, again, this is just what they've shown. This could change. This could just be beta right now. We'll see. But the only things for sale at the moment, are for silver, as well as a rename for gold. So silver is just the standard in-game currency, and you just buy some potions here and a, backpack. There is limited bag space. Just like in WoW, you have like your normal backpack, and then you can, expand it with bag slots here. So, very standard inventory management elements there, but they weren't selling bag space, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did end up selling bag space. So again, no pay to win elements currently noticed at this time. Have to keep an eye on it in the future though. Now, let's talk about the actual game. The UI, first thing you'll notice here, very standard traditional UI. Quests on the right, ability center screen, chat bottom left. Very typical UI. Nicest thing about the game, though, in that regard is you have full UI customization from the beginning. You can drag and drop any UI element wherever you would like to, as well as scale it within the parameters that they offer. So very nice quality of life feature there. In terms of the game's actual controls, standard traditional tab target MMO, WASD movement, or hold down your mouse cursor to turn your camera around, things like that. General, character movement, nothing crazy, nothing different. Pretty standard. It's not janky. It actually feels pretty decent. It can be a little rigid at times in terms of getting stuck on, other world elements and your character, rubber banding back and forth a little bit, but it's not that bad. That's probably the most like jank thing with the, mobile, the PC porting that is probably there. In terms of the actual gameplay, the combat is standard traditional tab target combat. You lock onto your target and you use your abilities, right? Do damage, bump that DPS. So very standard basic stuff there. It does have like a support thing for, this is probably for mobile players. If you're out of range as melee and you use an ability, it'll automatically move you in range of that skill. Other than that, it's just going to use basic attack. There is no auto combat. There is no auto play, but you will notice you are able to move and attack in this game. So that is a very nice thing, unlike another Eastern title porting over to the West later this year. So very nice in that regard. Very typical tab target MMO combat gameplay. The translations for the game and the class abilities and how they work is not very good at the moment. There is a combo system that does exist with being able to enhance skills and using them together and whatnot. You can see it when these abilities are glowing. There is a way to activate combos in order to make them do more damage or have additional effects associated to them, but the game itself doesn't have very good translations for that when looking at the abilities for the classes. So, definitely some translation work needed there for it. All of the classes have 2 specs available to them, and you can freely swap between them so long as you're not in combat. The talent tree, you're able to respec at will at no cost. You can fully unspec the tree or individual talent sections on their own, but the customization of the talent tree is actually pretty nice. There are different gameplay styles that you are able to actually build into and play around. You do have 2 separate loadouts for each of the talents, so you can have 1 PvP loadout and 1 dungeon loadout if you would like, and that is per spec as well. So if I go and swap over here to my tank spec now, that actually does have its own 2 separate individual loadouts saved for it. And again, you can just respec and unspec however you want at any time. No restrictions or cost on it. So very nice quality of life in that regard. Go back to our DPS spec here. So that's just a, very nice thing for it in that regard. Again, not amazing, not bad though. Could be better, could be worse, right? So pretty decent, MMO experience so far with that. In terms of the content, the biggest red flag a lot of people are going to run into right now is that there is currently a level lock restriction on level progression. You'll see this quest right here is actually, see you tomorrow, 2 hours. So in 2 hours, the quest is going to unlock and allow us to move on. We are currently stuck at level 22. We can't go higher at the moment. For those of you that like to just blast one character and min-max out the wazoo from the get-go, not ideal for you. But I will say on the flip side, this did give us an opportunity to play other classes and level them up and experience that. So it was pretty nice in that regard, being able to, just kind of breathe and take our time with the game and not be super sweaty right out the gate with it. So that's definitely a nice thing available. However, if you would like to be sweaty, you can. There are no restrictions on running dungeons and things like that. So you can farm gear and run dungeons to your heart content all day long if you would like to. Speaking of dungeons, like we were saying, you can run dungeons as much as you want. There is no limit on them. The gear drop does occur on the final boss of a dungeon, but the previous bosses do drop these token medals for the respective dungeon that you're able to turn in for loot specifically as well. So you are able to actually target farm gear out of dungeons. So that's a very nice thing being able to do in that regard. So you can run dungeons as much as you want and get these medallions and sell them for a gear piece. And so you're able to gear farm that way in a deterministic manner as well. There is also life skilling if you want to get gear that way. So there's definitely options there in the gameplay. The dungeons themselves are actually kind of fun, you know? Again, they're not bad, but they're not great. It's very standard basic experience. I know people are, you know, not having high expectations for the game, and that's fine, but for what it is, the game's been enjoyable. Some of the bosses have some pretty cool mechanics and gameplay elements to them, and, you know, if players aren't doing what they need to do, it can cause you to wipe because the damage becomes too much, or the healer can't keep up with it, or DPS just slows down too much. So people do need to actively play the game. There is no auto combat again, but, you know, some of the gameplay elements are actually a lot of fun when it comes to the dungeons. And like we said, you can run them as much as you want. Now, PvP. There is no open world PvP that we've ran into at this time. However, you can duel people at any time, as much as you want to. But in terms of the battlegrounds, the map alternates each day, and it has a 14-hour window. So from 10 a.m. to midnight, PvP battlegrounds are available. It's a pretty big window, but, you know, there's no reason for it to not be 24/7. I imagine this is probably based on, you know, some law in China in terms of internet usage restrictions or game restrictions. There's no real reason for it to not be available 24/7, to be honest. Like, you know, some people, you know, are only able to play in the middle of the night or early morning, and not being able to do PvP in at that time, gonna kind of suck. So definitely not a fan of that restriction for it. But in that 14-hour window, you can play it as much as you want. Initial PvP rewards, you know, are there for twice a day claim, but you can get the PvP glory badges from winning matches regularly. We have 548 ourselves at the moment. So you're able to get them continuously just by playing. Similar to WoW, you have the, you know, your first reward wins of the day, and then it just, you know, has the smaller, more paltry amount from your matches. PvP is actually kind of fun. The time to kill isn't that bad, barring some situations. There's currently no mortal wounds or mortal strike effect, so healing can be really powerful. But if you set up your class's combinations and target swap effectively, you can actually burst down targets pretty efficiently. Tanks are a bit of a problem, as they... Prop Paladin in particular has the ability to generate a ton of shielding and is, like, you know, really obnoxious to kill. So tanks, once again, are, you know, kind of an obnoxious nuisance in PvP once more. There is a pretty big flaw with one of the PvP game modes at the moment. The one for the Sinister Orefield is actually won by not pushing the payload, because currently player damage isn't high enough to kill the payload fast enough in the time limit given. But if you push it too far, it actually becomes in range of the turrets that actually do blow up the carts very quickly. And if you blow up the cart, your team gets a large score. However, at the end of time, if the time runs out, the payload itself will self-destruct, and you actually don't get score for that. So it's beneficial to not push the payload and instead just win PvP so that you end up with the higher score, rather than doing the objective, because the objective is going to die if you push it through here, because the cannons are going to blow it up as it currently stands. So, you know, their PvP objective game modes definitely need some work at the moment in that regard. But overall, the gameplay itself has been pretty fun, and it's been a nice time being able to do battlegrounds in the game for what we've been able to so far. We'll see how the time to kill shakes out as level increases do go on throughout the beta. The next level increase is expected to be level 30. We can actually find that here, as they do currently have this little 7-day playtest goal. And on day 2, it says reach character level 30. So we do know that level 30 is the next character level. That's going to unlock raids and more dungeons for us. So there's going to be more stuff for us to test and cover for you all. So definitely keep your eyes out there for some gameplay coverage of the various different types of content that's available. If you want to catch us live doing any of this, you can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zav, as we will be playing the game throughout this week for its playtest window. So definitely drop on by. Take care. Have a good one. Thank you for watching.